Ah, the Russian Empire. The big green blob that once stretched from Congress Poland to Alaska. But we all know how that ended. And even a worse fate would bestow Russia in no other timeline than the one of Thousand Week Reich. So let's instead rebuild the empire that was destroyed in 1917 and finally liberate Russia from the Bolshevik, German, and Republican scum. But first, to even try to revive the old empire, we will need to start as Moskowien. And if you saw my other video about Russian Commissary Moskowien, which you should see in my second channel, so you should go and see it, shameless sponsor over. Well, let's just say that it is not in a good state. We already start out strong, and we already start out great considering all our divisions are militias that are under-equipped and under-man... yeah, they don't have full manpower. You know that's a great start already, so... So why the hell would we want to play in here, you may be asking? Well, it's kinda simple, really. While Moskowien may be a German administration, there are a few Russian collaborators. How many liberations armies are in here? Like the Russian Liberation Army, then the Russian National People's Army, then you have the Russian National Liberation Army. Like, come on, like, what the f? Like that's some level of Luigi and Waluigi type of bullshit, man. To be more specific, there are 3 major collaborators. Last time we played as the Rona, as Kamnitsky, as he was one of the candidates for becoming the Reich Commissariat, as the chaos ensued. Then we have the Roa, who are the Republicans, and finally we have the ones that interest us, the RNA, with Mr. Ivanov, who himself is a monarchist. So I think you know where I'm going with this. We will need to empower his faction and him before the collapse, but since the collapse is a year away, let's just fast forward to it.
Many months later.
And he's dead. So as always with any good Reich Commissariat except for Ostland, after Mr. Mostashman's death, chaos has just erupted. Since this is the same aim as the Moskowien I was talking about earlier in the video, Kamensky was elected as the new Reich Commissar instead of the SS, but it really doesn't matter in this case. But even after the selection of the new Reich Commissar, the ROA and the RNA had stopped checking in, preparing for the impending doom. And not a week later, the Slavic revolt has triggered, with the Bolsheviks and the ROA and the RNA taking up arms against the German administration, so it's time to rid Russia of its oppressors and fight for the Russian nation. The coalition right now is being led by the ROA, but that doesn't matter as we have a war to win, and the main target right now is to take Moscow from the Germans. And you know, with the chaos happening all around, it was left wide open. But 4 divisions in the field are not enough, so we must raise the corps of the veterans to help in the war. And now with the proper army in our hands, it's time to fight and end the German lapdogs who dare support them even when the moment is right to rebel. With Moscow in our hands, we must decide who is the bigger threat. Either the German lapdogs who are on their deathbed, or the Bolshevik devils. And unsurprisingly, with the Germans and their lapdogs collapsing as we speak, it's only natural that we shall focus our attention to Red forces. And so, let us send the German remnants that have no place in Russia. The Germans eventually surrendered, so we did well to decide and focus our efforts on the Reds, as now it's a fight mano a mano, just like we did a few decades ago. Who's from 1918, huh? So it's about time to reorganize the front while the partisans are still scattered around the place. As any good Russian nation, we're a Christian nation, so we must unite in our efforts to defeat the Bolshevik devils who dare to destroy what the Church stands for. Eventually, the Red Army's ally, Karbyshev, was defeated, and with their defeat marking the beginning of the end for the Reds in Moscow. And just a few months later, the Reds finally surrendered to our combined forces, marking the end of the revolt in Moscow. As such, we shall send the rightful Tsar a message from a bygone era. Finally, after so much blood being spilled, the guns have settled, and now it's time to rebuild what was lost. But things are never that simple with politics, as even though the ROA and the RNA have cooperated against the Germans and the Bolsheviks, they still hold two distinct visions for the future of Russia. So without the common enemy, it's time to end the ROA. And so a mutiny has taken place within the ROA ranks in an effort to remove Bunachenko, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And unlucky for Bunachenko, he decided to stand down when he shouldn't have, leading to the RNA taking over and ousting the troublesome ROA. They're Phalangists developed by the ideas of José Antonio Primo de Rivera, Ramiro Ledesma, focus on authoritarian national syndicalists, and secular, although friendly with the church state, is considered one of the more revolutionary branches of fascism. Alternatively, we could have the ROA remain in power leading to a republican outlook, but the thing is that if I'm going to play as some traitors to the Russian people in the first place, I want to play something unique. If I wanted to play as the bloody republicans, I would have played as the Republic in Vladivostok! Either way, there are Russian lands still in control of other administrations, so it's time to reunite our brethren from the German and Bolshevik scum. We recovered Petrograd, Arkhangelsk, and Belarus, but just as this happened, the German Civil War ended in a victory for the Wehrmacht. So we will need to watch out for them, as they will most likely will come back for their land. This is actually Defectus from the future, and spoiler alert, no, that was not the case, but either way. After a few months of reconstruction, it's finally time to coronate the rightful autocrat and Tsar of all of Russia. With the Tsar back in his throne, it's time to form his loyal cabinet who will... Oh, f*** off, Poland! Nobody cares about your stupid democracy right now! And where was I? Oh, yes. Who will rebuild the empire, and so we'll need to discuss the level of authority the Tsar shall have. And so it has been decided he shall lead the government in full force with his loyal cabinet behind him. With the power of the Tsar cemented, we shall recruit fanatics who will help in the reclamation of the empire for God and Tsar. And now that we have secured the internal situation, we can now begin the reconquest of the western territories. And what a better place to start off with than Ukraine, as the Germans there appear to be winning for some reason. So let's kick them out, shall we? But while we reclaim the empire, it's also important that we take a look into fixing the economy. And so after a quick intervention, the Germans have been kicked out from all of Eastern Europe, leaving us secured from German intervention for a while at least. And in a weird turn of events, we shall be using the principles of Falangism to rebuild the empire, as one of the party members fought during the Spanish Civil War or something like that. Yeah, this path sure is wacky. But hey, if it works, it works. It worked for Spain, so it should work for Russia, you know? And I never thought about saying this, but we shall rebuild Russia from the lessons of Primo de Rivera. But the Ukrainian raids are still a thing, so we need to go and fix that. And something really unexpected happened, as Mr. Oster here has decided to oust Speidel from office before he could do anything about reclaiming the East. So I would like the past defectors explain this better. Yes, this is what I was hoping for. Perfect. This basically gives me a free game over Eastern Europe. Perfect. This is great because, like, this guy doesn't have any option to reclaim the East, sorry. So that basically gives me a free reign all over Eastern Europe, so that I can actually then fight against the other Russian contenders. Perfect. So with this good news, Ivan, put on the music for we are going to war. Oh, that's going to be an interesting war. Nikita Khrushchev against the Soviet government, although I have a feeling, yeah, Perm is going to win, definitely. Okay, we got sidelined by the shenanigans of the East, but I lied about dealing with the Germans, as Mr. Heydrich is still doing his thing in Sebastopol, so let's ruin his party. There, the blonde beast goes. Oh yeah, Novosibirsk is dead. Yeah, you're gone. You're dead, Khrushchev. You're dead. Oh yeah, you're gone, my dude. So we're basically between Perm and Vladivostok. Oh well, no more interruptions, Ivan. Put on the music. Ooh, ballsy move there, Republic. I don't think that was a good idea, though. Yeah, that clearly was not a good idea. Well, Western Russia is united. Now let's actually start preparing for the war against the Soviets, though. Brothers, it's time for the great offensive to both destroy the Russian Republic, the Republicans in Vladivostok, and the old Soviet government in Perm. It's time to liberate the Russian people and unite them under the mantle of the great Tsar Vladimir the First. So here we go. So the Great March has begun against the Soviet remnants that not only destroyed the Russian culture but also lost against the perfidious Germans. I bet like they didn't even expect that I was going to declare war right now, because they don't have anything on their borders, and the only reason we're not really advancing that much is because of the supply situation. But apart from that, yeah, everything's going solid. Well, not exactly here in the north, but that's to be expected. So since they are now stuck in a two-front war, let's end their miserable existence. And while our army is better than theirs, and they had almost no troops on the borders, the bloody supplies are horrendous over here. It's a night and day difference between the western and eastern Russia, my god. Never invade from the west to the east, it should be the other way around so you don't suffer that much from supplies. And now, the war with the Bolsheviks have resumed, we shall rally the church on a crusade to end the Soviet cowards over the Urals. After a few months of offensives, the Reds surrendered. And now we shall fix the last internal issue by making Russia an Orthodox nation like it should be. So with this in mind, let's start a little plan that may or may not be controversial. But before we can end the Republicans in Vladivostok, we needed to rebuild the railway network, and spoiler alert, this was all the war. But after a year or so of just building supplies, the war restarted, and to Vladivostok we march. And this is where the supply issue comes into play, as there are no supplies over here in Siberia. So long story short, I spent all the war looking at the supply map mode and building supply hubs, as without them your army is basically useless. So to not bore you to death, and also because I actually stopped recording for a while, let's just fast forward a bit into the future. So, after 2 years of horrendous battles over Siberia, my army had reached the Far East, and in just a few weeks they took Vladivostok. And at last, making the last remnants of the Republicans surrender and finally proclaim the reunification of Russia. Just to make sure, I demanded Karelia, as I couldn't until I owned both Perm and Vladivostok. But this will not be an entire story, as you know, this is the perfect opportunity to retake some more lands in the west. So sorry Poland, but I need the Ukrainian land. Also, Romania is still at war with Hungary for the second time, And I still want my Bessarabia, so yeah, I think it's time to rush down Romania. Holy shit, Hungary killed 1 million Romanians. Damn! You know what, Hungary? I think you deserve Transylvania. You know what, Hungary? I think you deserve Transylvania. Like, you fought the Romanians, you killed 1 million Romanians, so you know what? You deserve Transylvania. Good job there, mate. Also, if anyone's wondering, the Romanian decision to release them as a puppet is actually bugged, so I had to leave them alive after the peace deal, and I just used the tool pack to puppet them. And finally, it's time to get revenge on the Germans for both world wars. Hey Reddit, rate my encirclement! I'm looking forward to all my karma that I will get in the subreddit. And so, after cleaning the pocket and killing over 800,000 Germans, we are so OP that this is just gonna be a bloody cakewalk. They finally surrendered to me. I gave some land to Poland as usual, released the Czechs and the Germans, but I had to clean up some borders with Denmark. But thankfully I had toolpack for that. And so, having the largest GDP in the world, we basically switched places with the Germans in terms of ideology. So now we are the baddies?
Are we the baddies?
Now the Russian bear stands as the behemoth of the East, ready to finally rebuild the old great cities. And if you ask why I didn't take Central Asia, well, the answer is simple. Supplies, and there's nothing of value there, so who bloody cares about that godforsaken land? And so, that's basically the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed this video. This was the Factus Expert. You as this missed soldier. Hey, also, go watch my Moskowien video in the second channel. Also, remember to subscribe there. Shameless self-sponsor over.